The following is brought to you by crazy dog people everywhere.
And on the 9th day, God looked down on his wide-eyed children and said they need a companion. Somebody willing to wake up, give kisses, pee on a tree, sleep all day, wake up again, give more kisses, then stay up until midnight basking in the glow of a television set. So God made a dog.
And now, it's time for the Down with Dogs podcast, a dog cast dedicated to keeping your furry baby fit, healthy, and happy. Here's your host, Courtney, and her boy, Jackson.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Down with Dogs podcast. Last week, I had the pleasure of talking to Dr. John Robb from Protect the Pets out of Newtown, Connecticut. He is leading the way in amending the laws in rabies and over-vaccinating our fur babies. And today he joins me again. We're going to talk about amending the rabies law and, most importantly, what are some of the illnesses we see? Dr. John Robb, welcome back to the show. What are some of those illnesses we see when our pets are either over-vaccinated or had the rabies shot?
Well, first of all, the rabies vaccine is the worst out of all the vaccines that we have. It causes the most vaccinosis or reactions. Reactions can, in a small pet, be anaphylactic and death, for one. But most commonly, reactions revolve around the dysfunction of the immune system following vaccination. So certainly in mild cases, you may have allergy issues come up. But in more severe cases, you may have immune-mediated diseases. Many pets, after the second or third rabies vaccine, develop hemolytic anemia. They begin to break down their red blood cells. It's simply a situation where the immune system is getting a signal to break down red blood cells, and it does exactly what it's told to do, because the rabies vaccine is not specific in terms of what it does. The vaccine is composed of two things. It's composed of the antigen, which are the viral particles, in this case, the killed rabies vaccine, and then it's composed of an adjuvant. These are substances to elicit a higher immune response, and also substances used to kill the virus, like formaldehyde or mercury, and then you go on from there. So the antigen and adjuvant together produce the vaccine, but the signal the immune system gets often alters it, where it begins to develop antibodies against the body's own tissues. And that was proven in a study out of Purdue, autoantibodies following vaccination. So besides hemolytic anemia and breaking down platelets, we get oftentimes tumors at the injection site, vaccine-associated sarcomas, where they can actually dissect down to the center of that tumor and find the remnants of the vaccine present. So there's another issue. Then you get serum sickness, where the pet runs a high fever and hides under the bed for 4 or 5 days. Then you get things like rabies miasm, where the pet actually will show signs of rabies in terms of behavioral changes. We have oftentimes seizures following the rabies vaccines. I mean, the list goes on and on. The immune system is the most important system in the body in that it regulates all the other systems. So when you over-vaccinate, when you overstimulate that immune system, it affects all systems. You know, a pharmaceutical drug may affect, the GI system if it causes GI irritants.
Right.
But in terms of a vaccine, when it affects the immune system, that affects all systems. So anything's possible in terms of vaccine.
After the rabies shot, my dog, and he's been to several specialists, internal specialists. I've driven him hours, and nobody thinks it has anything to do with a rabies shot. Shortly after getting his 3-year rabies shot, he developed anemia. They couldn't figure out why his red blood cells were looking very strange. So, horrible allergies, vasculitis, nail problems. His adrenal glands are all messed up. And I know in my heart it's the rabies shot.
Absolutely. We've been working on this, I say myself, and the pet owners who've joined the movement and those who've taken even more serious and active steps, which are oftentimes pet owners like yourself who've experienced the deleterious effects of overdosing, over-vaccination for rabies. So we have had upwards of 8 states now in the last 4 years that have proposed active legislation in terms of amending the rabies law to take the titer results and then write a rabies immunity certificate based on a passing grade for 3 years. That's the goal, and I currently do that. I do titers. I write rabies immunity certificates as a prelude to what's coming as the visionary in terms of what God's given me that where we're heading. So, yes, we have had legislation in Connecticut, in Delaware, in Arizona, in Washington, and the list goes on. Now, we haven't broken through yet. We've had public hearings on it. We're close in Delaware, where for the first time we may come up with a win and have an exemption where the rabies titer itself is allowed to be done in lieu of that vaccine.
Right.
And if the dog has a acceptable level, then that dog would not require the vaccine. So we are working on this. We will get there. We will win. And it's just a matter of continuing the push until this does happen.
Do any states accept a titer for rabies yet, legally or not?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there's only one state in this country that does not have endemic rabies, and that state is Hawaii.
Wow.
Okay? So if you want to go to Hawaii with your dog, you can't get in with a rabies vaccine certificate. You have to have a titer. And because obviously they know that a vaccine doesn't tell you anything except maybe the dog got injected. But a titer tells you there's active immunity. So if you want to get into Hawaii, you have to have a titer or they won't let you in the state. So that just shows you that the science is well known.
Right.
Having said that, no, at this point in time, we have no state that will honor the titer in lieu of a rabies vaccine, but we're getting close.
And that's what we're working towards. Talking to Dr. John Robb, Protect the Pets, Newtown, Connecticut. How does somebody go about getting rabies immunity if you have an animal like my dog who had such a bad reaction? Is there anything we can do?
Well, I tell people, you've got to honor the purpose of the law. So the purpose of the rabies law is to, keep pets protected,
right,
but also to keep people protected. In other words, if animals get rabies and we, are in contact with the pet owner, they can potentially get rabies. So I believe in active immunity following vaccination. So having said that, if they get a titer done and their pet has immunity, then they need to stand up and they need to say no to any further vaccination, because their pet has immunity, it can't get rabies. They've fulfilled the purpose of the law, which is to protect the pet and protect public health. That's what they need to do. Now, in terms of how they go about that, when they demand a rabies titer from their veterinarian, and I mean demand because some vets will say the craziest stuff, oh, that's illegal to do a titer. It's not illegal to do a titer, okay? It's legal to do a titer. Now, in terms of using that to go around the law, they may have some justification in making that statement. But having said that, you as the pet owner knows your pet doesn't need the shot. How can you allow a veterinarian to inject something in your pet that could kill it, that has no benefit? You can't. You have to protect your pet. Now, if that means finding a veterinarian who understands the science and will work something out with you, that's great. There are many who will do that. Like I said, they know the truth. They're willing to work something out so you have a certificate in your hand without actually over-vaccinating it, but they need to know that pet has immunity first. Now, if you get a situation where some public health official is trying to make you vaccinate, but you have proof that there's a titer been done, then you need to stand up and you need to challenge that and take it to the court system, okay? And make it a public spectacle so that this becomes into the light from the darkness. So that's what it takes. That's why you and I are talking, because I was willing to stand up and say no in front of the state board, in front of the legislator, wherever, because I'm not fearful of them. I'm fearful of not living the truth. I'm fearful of not honoring my oath. I'm fearful of killing pets for no medical reason. That's what I'm fearful of. I'm not fearful of people who are money hungry and would rather kill your pet so they can pay for their mortgage. I'm not fearful of those people, because they're wrong and I will win in the end and they'll be exposed. So this is what it takes when I say go against your fears, stand up, get a titer done, and then if it becomes a situation where there's a question, continue to back it up with the science. I've told all pet owners, if you're in that situation, I'll stand behind you, whatever it takes. I do see a lot of people, some which drive many states away in order to come and see me and discuss the issue and see what they could do for their situation. Again, I've issued close to 800 rabies immunity certificates now across the country. So if people get a titer done and it's good and they go to my website, there's a place